Coming up on your Friday news update, Boston Marathon officials are making security policy changes in preparation for this year's marathon, and Duck Commander has announced that they will be sponsoring a college bowl game starting in 2014. That and more coming up. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lynnette Grant. The Boston Marathon is making changes to its security policy following last year's attack on the race. Whitney Burbank has the details.
I plan on wearing as little as possible, lightweight light shorts and a nice light singlet.
Those planning on wearing a little more than Robert Gidson while running the Boston Marathon may want to rethink their outfits in light of the Boston Athletic Association's new regulations. Runners will not be allowed to bring bags of clothes to the starting line or finish line. But the BAA will let runners check in gear in the special approved bags on the Boston Common the morning of the race. Also banned, backpacks, suitcases, and rolling bags, strollers, personal hydration systems like camelbacks, costumes, and large props.
One wants to have measures imposed that runners, spectators, workers can see so that they know that the security that they depend on will be there.
New regulations aren't just for runners. The police commissioner says marathon watchers with big bags will be subject to searches.
We know it's intrusive, but unfortunately in this day and age, what we see, it's a necessary evil.
But on race day, runners like Gibson say nothing comes between them and the road.
It will definitely be received well. I mean, obviously, if you are kind of bothered by something at the beginning of the race, a couple miles in, it's not going to be on your mind. You're going to be thinking about just the race, and that'll be it.
The Robertson family of A&E's Duck Dynasty are going back to their roots in college football and sponsoring a bowl game. Duck Commander is teaming up with the Independence Bowl next year. With the title sponsorship now official, the bowl game will be renamed the Duck Commander Independence Bowl. The official announcement came on Wednesday, however, the family announced the partnership last weekend. Food packaging labels are about to get a major overhaul. The FDA is proposing the first major change to nutrition labels since the government began requiring them more than 20 years ago. Athena Jones reports.
The White House unveils its newest push to promote healthy eating. Nutrition labels getting an update for the first time in more than 2 decades.
Folks are really starting to think about what they eat and how active they are. So they're scrutinizing labels. They're asking questions. They're changing what they feed their families.
Under the FDA's new rules, which will go into effect 2 years after they're finalized, food labels will have to spell out more clearly how serving sizes are measured, taking into account how we really eat foods like potato chips and candy bars. Serving sizes for soda, for instance, will go from 8 ounces to 12 ounces, and serving sizes for yogurt will go from 8 ounces down to 6. Companies will also have to include how much added sugar is in the product and display information like calorie content more prominently. Nutritionist Joy Dubost says the new rules will help people make better choices.
Consumers will understand how many calories they're consuming at one time and throughout the day, but it's also going to update on current dietary recommendations around fat, sugar, and other nutrients.
Today's announcement comes as Mrs. Obama marks the 4th anniversary of her Let's Move campaign against childhood obesity. Earlier this week, she announced proposed rules to stop marketing junk food in schools. That proposal came as a new study using federal data showed obesity in young children, ages 2 to 5, has dropped more than 40% in a decade.
American Airlines is doing away with so-called bereavement fares for passengers trying to travel last minute because of a relative's death. A spokesman for the airline says it is adopting the policy of its merger partner, U.S. Airways. That policy instead offers passengers the option to buy changeable and refundable fares. Other airlines, including Southwest and Virgin America, also do not offer lower rates for bereavement flights. Federal investigators are filing an investigation into the response time of General Motors' latest vehicle recall. Investigators are trying to determine whether GM responded quickly enough before recalling nearly 1.4 million older model vehicles for faulty ignition switches. The problem has been linked to 31 frontal crashes and 13 deaths. car makers are legally required to report safety defects to federal authorities within 5 days. According to USA Today, a spokesman for GM says the automaker will cooperate fully with the investigation. That's going to wrap it up for your Friday news update. To stay up to date on all news, weather, and sports, log on to youtube.com/ValpoVUTV or like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at ValpoVUTV. For all of us here, I'm Lynnette Grant. Have a safe and relaxing spring break, Valpo.